The internet is under attack by some of the world's biggest countries, companies, and a feminist group. And although they say that their aims are to protect children or protect women in their legislation or actions, in reality, it's to change the purpose of the internet, which is to give privacy and freedom of speech to people who otherwise don't have access to it. And if we let these reformations pass, the internet will be subject to a new era of government regulation and intervention. But how do we get here? It all seems like a coincidence, but
There is no such thing as a coincidence.
so let's go back to the beginning, which is around 2 or 3 weeks ago. It all starts when Collective Shout sends an open letter to payment processors, basically asking them to stop facilitating pornographic video games. So they're saying there is rape, incest, and blank abuse games, right? I can't say the whole word because I'm on YouTube. And let me just chime in on the actual references that they're making because these things are kind of taken out of context. So the grape game was actually taken off of Steam before Collective Shout even published this letter. It was taken off 3 months before that this open letter was produced, and it was back in April. I'm not sure when the game came out, but it came out, drew a lot of controversy, and it ended up getting banned for how bad it was. That game was an incest game too, and it was already taken care of before this open letter was published. The other game that they're referring to with the blank abuse is actually not the way you think it is. It's a different game called Detroit Become Human, and basically the character is like an android who is a servant, and they witness like a child being like beaten up by their father, and she decides to intervene, save the child, and that's how the game begins. So it's not done in the way that they're kind of implying here. They're trying to imply it with uh, a sexual tone, right? But if you look at the actual game, that is not the context that it is in, and it is not done in an overly violent way. I'll even play it up here. And 8 days later, payment processors got Steam to take down all of their pornographic material from their website. And a few days later, Collective Shout gets itch.io to take down the same subsection of pornography games on their website. There's also some collateral damage too, because not only pornography games were affected. Now let's go to the United Kingdom, where you can be arrested for making tweets and posts on social media. They want you to submit your photo ID, your passport, or even other forms of private information to the website to be able to access content that they view as 18 plus. And this doesn't just apply to pornography. This includes every website that involves person-to-person communication: YouTube, Reddit, WhatsApp, and Twitter. And if you fail to give up your private information, then you will be subjected to a watered down China-esque version of the platform. And by the way, every company that does business in the UK will have to provide private information to the UK government by their request. And no, not only for illegal situations. If the UK government wants your information at all, they can just get it. And the person processing this information is a private company contracted by the UK government. Then we move on to the USA. And there is a newly introduced bill called COSA. The gist of the COSA bill is to have companies that perceive users as under 13 years old to be subject to limited algorithms, preventing others from seeing their information, limit the ability of this underage user to communicate with others, control personalized recommendation systems, have easily accessible parental controls, and default the user to the highest level of security. Now, this does seem fine at first glance, but there are two problems. The first one is the vague language used in the document. compulsive use, harmful content, and age-appropriate design. These terms make it easy for bad actors in our government to twist these terms to suit their needs. The second thing is, how do these companies figure out if a user is under 13 years old? Because if they get it wrong, and you already know that companies are going to choose the most cautious way possible to find out if a user is under 13 so that they don't lose money. For example, YouTube is going to be implementing an AI to discover if you are 13 based off of your viewer history or your activity on the profile. And if it's based off of your YouTube watch history, if you give your phone to your little sibling or child, YouTube's going to force you to provide verification to their website. And just because they say your data is safe doesn't really mean it's actually safe. There was a social security number leak, Facebook got leaked, and millions of people had their data just put publicly on display. And is it really worth it for people to make themselves vulnerable by exposing their private information for kids, allegedly? But kids will eventually find out how to circumvent the system. I mean, even in my state where pornography was banned, when I was under 18, it was extremely easy to circumvent this ban. When I was at school, the kids at my school literally accessed the site at school.